Hello, cinema friends. Welcome to a live edition of Cinesundry. This is going to be a little different. We're going to actually talk about a TV series that recently ended. We're going to discuss the Book of Boba Fett. All right, we're going to get into this discussion of the Book of Boba Fett. And like the first little screen said, this is a spoiler discussion. It is spoiler filled. But and also I want to remind you of the rating system. Got to talk about those ratings. Now our top rating is Auteur. That's kind of the best of the best. You see it up above my head there. Um, there's some top shelf stuff. Some of the best things you've seen all year. And another rating, the middle rating is middling, where it's okay. It had potential. It didn't quite do what you wanted it to. And finally, the last rating is hack. That is for those terrible, dismal, abysmal, god awful things that probably shouldn't have been made. Well, all right. Now that we got those ratings out the way, let me give you a series overview. All right. In this series overview, we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett, and this deals with Boba Fett and his ally Fennec Shan. They are taking over the underworld of Tatooine from Bill Fortuna, who took over from Jabba the Hutt. And we also see how Boba Fett survived what we thought was his death at the end of Return of the Jedi. And now let me get into some of the lead actors in this film, in this project rather. All right, first up we got Tamara Morrison. You know him, he played Jango Fett in the Star Wars prequels and also one of the animated Clone Wars. Well, he is now playing Boba Fett, which makes sense because Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett. See how that works, guys. And next we have Ming-Na Wen. You know her. She's just kind of a king of all things badassery, from Street Fighter, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and now on this show she is playing Fennec Shan. Fennec Shan's a bounty hunter, and fate has kind of led her to Boba, and she is Boba's right-hand person, most trusted authority, hand of the king, whatever you want to say. But she's the one who handles things for Boba. And next we have Carrie Jones. He plays Cousin Stan. He's basically a Wookiee with black fur, tough, badass character. And we also have Jennifer Beals. She plays Garza Fwick, the owner of the cantina. And lastly, we have Pedro Pascal back as the Mandalorian. You know, this is a spinoff of the Mandalorian, so appropriately, the Mandalorian shows up too. All right, so now we've got that established. Now we're going to take a brief commercial break and be right back.
Does your girlfriend know we're here?
Yes. The system had one intention: to put us in prison. It's just that simple.
All right, I went back. I want to thank the good people at Quality TV for the ad. That is a good streaming service. From what I hear good things about it. It is a Afrocentric, Black-focused streaming service. Might want to check those people out and patronize them. And guys, if you remember how we did the Spider-Man No Way Home, you know I like to bring in guests. when we talk about these projects. Because I feel like nerding out shouldn't be a solo affair. And so, to help me break down the Book of Boba Fett, one of my favorite nerds from Facebook coming with all kinds of great and interesting hot takes. Let's bring in my buddy Brad Watkins.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What's going on, man?
Man, everything's going, handling the apocalypse as it goes. But really, appreciate the chance to be on the show, man.
Hey, man, I've been reading your nerdy takes for a minute. And I was like, him.
Oh,
I must summon him for this affair.
Yeah, see, my big mouth finally got me in trouble.
I don't think it's trouble. Because once again, like I said, I like nerding out with friends. You should always try to nerd out with friends if you can. All right, man. So let's get into it. Like, what were your thoughts? Oh, yeah. Spoiler discussion, guys. We are spoilers. So if you don't want to know, or if you haven't seen it,
or if it hasn't been spoiled for you already,
you
I don't give up.
You might want to finish watching and come back to this one. But all right, so what are your thoughts on like just the Book of Boba Fett season as a whole?
I liked it as a whole. I think this is Star Wars, Disney shows, because MCU just chucking them out. Boom, 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 boom. And I think Star Wars messes up when it tries to be the MCU, but they've done a really good job with the shows of laying the foundation with the first two seasons of Mandalorian. And you get to the Book of Boba Fett, and I liked it once I divorced myself from my incorrect expectations. Because I think everybody went into this show thinking this was going to be Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett doing bounty hunting stuff. But I'm like, we already got a show about a bounty hunter. So they had to make a show about something else. And I think the flaws in the show are part of their learning curve. You can tell that with these new streaming shows, they've got movie budgets, but there is a skill to dividing that out among chapters. And you can definitely see where the budget went this season. Because you'll watch an episode like the first time, and I know everybody hates the mods. Can we get into that? I know everybody hates the mods with the little speeder scooters and all that.
And that was my question too, but let's go talk about it.
I was like, because and that looked bad. It looked bad. But when you get to I think it was episode 5, you're like, oh, that's where the money went. When you get to 5 and 6 and 7, you're like, that's where all the money went. So they had to front load, they had to backload that for the show. And I also think people are a little too harsh about the mods. Boba recruits this gang of kind of like, I think they were going for kind of like a 50s street gang, motorcycle gang, youth in revolt.
But perhaps they shouldn't put the speeder things in like Power Ranger colors. It was just like
in the colors. I think they were trying to. I think Star Wars has always been about pulling from everything from westerns to samurai movies to 70s youth culture, and a lot of that got dropped off with the whole drag racing. And I think they were trying to re-inject that. I just think visually it didn't tonally fit. But I see where they were going with it.
Yeah, I get that, man. But me personally, I did struggle. I think I watched the first 2 episodes like 3 times, and I was just like, I don't quite. But yeah, I think I was expecting it to be more like Mandalorian. But yeah, if it's a Mandalorian, why would it exist? Like, it should be something different. But as I sat there binging, I finally got like, oh, okay. This is like, a bounty hunter growing old or coming to terms with like, hey, this bounty hunting stuff is kind of dumb because all these people are crazy and they don't have any sense. They just have us doing cockamamie things. So let me become a boss. let me change things. And I was like, once I got that, I was like, oh, okay. I understand you, Boba Fett.
They're giving him a character arc, which is something
Yeah.
he didn't really have since, unless you count his appearances on like Clone Wars. And I think that's the other problem. You have levels of fans. So you have fans who've just seen the movies and the shows, just seen the movies. And then you have the fans who've seen the movies and watched Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch. And then you got those folks who are like all in the books and the comics and the games and get all into that.
I'm not super heavy. Now I watched the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, which took place which came out in between episodes 2 and 3, where it was like traditional animation, and I watched the theatrical movie for like that set up the regular Clone Wars series, but I didn't watch Clone Wars or Legends. So
Clone Wars. It is my hope that one day, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but Clone Wars completely changed the way I looked at the prequels. Like my appreciation for the prequels, I can't divorce what I know from Clone Wars from my memories of watching the prequels. And so it really just legitimized and vindicated those movies. And so you get a little background. And so what was really cool in watching Mandalorian is how much from Clone Wars is in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I mean, from Cad Bane, which that was the moment when I was at the end of that episode. I think that was what, episode 6.
Yeah.
And you see this guy, and I'm like, man, that hat looked no. And that's the other weird thing about Book of Boba Fett. It is very much about, you said something before we start recording about getting older. Everybody on that show is old. Like the average age of the cast, of the cast people you name, are their late 50s. I mean, I think everybody you named is in their 50s or 60s. And I think that's a big part of it too. I think that when Mandalorian really invoked all this stuff from Westerns, and as somebody who's a fan of Westerns, you know, my old man was in the Black Rodeo. Like he can tell you all about all of it. And it was that Mando is like hang 'em high, Clint Eastwood. Good, the bad, and the ugly, fistful of dollars. 60s, 70s Clint Eastwood. Mando is late 80s, early 90s Clint Eastwood. He's Pale Rider. You know, he's Unforgiven.
Oh, you mean Boba is?
I mean, Boba is. Boba is. Yeah, Boba is Pale Rider. He's Unforgiven. He's the guy who did all that. And now he's reached the end of that. And so now he's got to do something else. And they tried to do a redemption story. It'll be interesting to see where they go with the show from here. Because I got questions about Mando. I mean, not Mando, about Boba. In that, okay, how you going to be a nice guy crime lord? This money you getting, you got all those credits. And the Pikes are so bad for running spice. Okay. But the people who kick up to you are slavers. You know, they're smugglers. They're pirates.
Dude. And like, I love the fact that people were quick to call him on it. Cad Man and others like, hold up, dude. So you the good guy now? Like,
yeah,
you bounty hunter dude?
Who? Murderer? No disintegrations?
Yeah.
And I think people have glossed over a little too much how impactful that time with the Tuscans was for the character. You know, like when they even did the little step show, that was a heck of a scene. The little Tuscan step show. And how much that impacted the character. And I think a lot of people watching the show, and I think the show maybe could have highlighted that a little bit more. Though they did spend like a good couple episodes on it, you know, good 3-4 episodes on that part of him. I don't think the audience got that that's the dividing line between who he was and this new person he's trying to make himself. But I'm also kind of like, yeah, dude, but you still a criminal.
Yeah.
You're still a criminal. So you don't you fallen into this old mafia movie thing where, okay, we're criminals and stuff, but we don't deal drugs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were like literal nods to the Godfather. Like I think when he gets the little fruit and he gives it to the person. Yeah, I was watching a little Easter egg thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that is from The Godfather."
There's so many shots lifted from other movies, from High Noon to King Kong,
Oh yeah,
especially with
definitely,
the
definitely.
Rancor at the
Yeah,
end. And I like that they picked up on certain things like humanizing, playing up on the relationship between the Rancor and the trainer. Um, I like that they played up on the Sarlacc and the Sarlacc. That scene with the Sarlacc and the Sarlacc grabbing the ship and going down in it, that was great.
yeah,
Like that was visually beautiful.
and I love the because Boba Fett's been coming back since '80s Marvel comics. Because like Marvel, like he looks cool. We're gonna bring him back. Now in that version, I think the Sarlacc eventually spits him back up. But now in this version, it was Boba Fett using that flame and kind of crawling up out of the Sarlacc.
Gave him some
But I
indigestion.
mean, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I said, gave him some indigestion.
Yeah, gives indigestion. Because I mean, just for the visuals alone, man, it's like you can't take Boba off the board, man. Because I remember being very disappointed when I watched Return of the Jedi in a movie theater with my parents in '83, probably wearing a Return of the Jedi tank top because I own one. So I'm keeping the book. But like, I was like, Boba, yeah, Boba's in this. And then Han Solo accidentally hits me. He just flies into the solid pit. And I'm like, is this what we doing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I
did
was
like,
interested that she liked seeing Jabba the Hutt's family because this character was brief in the original Star Wars. Yes, it was. Because,
and
like,
just like some folks, kinfolk, they're gonna show up after he dead, then be like, "No, that's good. We're gonna get out of here." But you know what? You can have this Rancor.
I know. Like, I mean, they had to do something because, like, because they, boy, Chris is staying straight Jack Boba in the back of tank.
Now,
You
now
know?
that's who I want to see more of.
Oh, yes, yes.
That was the guy I wanted to see more of, him and woo, fine Fennec Shan. Obviously they setting up her show because
Oh, you
she
think
was.
so?
I mean, between her appearance in Bad Batch and then how much she was just straight up running stuff in this show. Like if they were chess pieces, if Boba's the king, she definitely the queen
Oh,
because she had
definitely.
all the moves. I mean, she wiped them all out in the finale. That was just like pat, 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 pat. Because
Okay.
I kind of forgot about her for a minute.
Okay, well, that was my.
Oh, sorry. I'm jumping ahead of your questions.
I don't know, man. It's like we get telepathy. You keep going to my question, but it's fair. Okay, so all right, real quick, I want to finish up on what are your thoughts, or I guess further thoughts about this cyborg subculture and the mod parlors? Because, like, of course, we know Anakin's basically a cyborg and Luke's basically a cyborg, but like, I did not realize that, like, and again, I didn't watch Clone Wars. I haven't read all the comics and books, but like, there is like a big like cyborg subculture in Tatooine, man.
Yeah, and I didn't know what that was about. I mean, I thought it was cool. I think it's part of where people are, there was a little bit of resistance just because of tone. But it makes perfect sense in Star Wars universe that you'd have people all tricked out, borged out, as much as people's hands getting cut off in Star Wars movies.
Man, dude, I I could not be a Jedi because I feel like I'd cause me to lose at least about 2 fingers, like just like personal error. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm a Jedi and I got to wield that, like I'm gonna say about 3, 4 fingers, I'm gonna have to charge to the game.
Well, you see, Mando cut his own leg with the dark saber, but I know we're gonna get into all of that. But the I like the idea of that because it makes sense in a science fiction setting that you'd have that. I thought it was weird. It was a little tonally odd that it was on Tatooine, but then again, Tatooine is always this, you know, on the frontier, loose laws kind of thing. So I hope they play more into that as that goes on. But yeah, it did seem a little tonally, it seemed a little cyberpunk.
yeah, for real. I was just like, oh, that's how we doing it on Tatooine. Everybody just getting cyborged up, borged up, as you say. And also a little fun fact for what was the guy's name? The modder. Um, the guy that was
The guy who was
picking on
fixing her.
everybody. Yeah. That is actually Thundercat, the singer, songwriter,
What?
bassist. Yeah, that's Thundercat.
What? Okay, that was new on me. I wasn't even paying attention. With these shows, you got to watch really close.
I know, man. It's
Yes.
like Cameo a Go-Go. And also in that same vein, my buddy who I do Black Nerd Power with, Richard Douglas Jones, one of the first people to let me know, like, Jennifer Beals is in this show.
And looks amazing.
Yeah, I know, man.
Looks. I mean, and she's what, 58?
Gotta be, man, because she was popping in the 80s with Flashdance.
Flashdance was a minute ago.
And shoot, Devil in a Blue Dress was like 95.
Yeah, the Blue Dress was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, so yeah.
And I swear, she actually looks better. There's some people, it's a weird thing. I don't want to get on a tangent, but a weird thing with like aging in Hollywood, where people who are old when we were kids, like you can tell like how much better people are aging now. Like,
man, I think it's wild.
Ming-Na looks better now than she did on The Single Guy back when I was watching her in the dorm.
Water and veggies, I think, is the simple answer, but you want to get more, specific, it's probably more, vegan and plant-based lifestyles, and, they probably got all the good vitamins and herbs and spices.
Bathing in the blood of infants or something, because they are like, I'm just like, wow, like, how is it my childhood crushes keep getting better looking? We'd all be lucky to look as good as Ming-Na or Jennifer Beals at pushing 60.
Oh, yes. And again, you read my mind, because my next question literally reads, can we talk about the epic awesomeness that is Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand? Because, I mean, this woman just been badass forever. Like, Chun-Li in Street Fighter. Now, I kind of lost track of like a little bit after that.
Shoot. But Stargate, Shield.
Now, see, that's when I rediscovered her. And I was like, oh, she's still kicking and she's still badass. Yes.
Across the board. She's done it all. Like the MCU, Stargate, Star Wars. Like
now there's question on whether or not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon, which hurts my heart. Because I watched the first 5 seasons.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ain't canon. I mean, the Winter Soldier. The problem was Winter Soldier blew up its premise. Like Winter Soldier came out like what? Was Winter Soldier like during its first season or its second season?
No, first season. And let me tell you, the episode like 2 or 3 days before Winter Soldier dropped on that Friday, and then the episode a few days after Winter Soldier dropped out. That was the best, like, cohesion or synergy that I'd ever seen between Marvel TV and Marvel film at that point. That was perfect. And I thought that it was canon, because, I mean, they're literally referencing a film.
It's kind of like, that was Feige and Pearl Mueller beefing. So it's just so Pearl Miller's like, yeah, it's canon. And Feige's like, we'll kind of play with that if we get around to it.
Yeah. But I don't want to get too much into it.
No, get on. But
now she is Fennec Shand, and she's
from her appearance in Mandalorian. They are clearly investing a lot in this character. I don't know where they plan on taking her, but to push her, like if she were a pro wrestler, she getting the Vince push because she had that. She shows up in Mandalorian. Then they pull her over in the Bad Batch.
Okay, now let's talk about Bad Batch. Now that's another animated Star Wars project.
Yeah.
Okay, now what does that take place?
So Bad Batch takes place right after episode 3. So it's just as the transition from Republic to Empire. And the protagonists are this one group of clones who, because they were defective, they're not identical like the other ones. And so they were used for like suicide missions and stuff like that. So their chips malfunctioned. So they didn't go all Order 66.
Okay.
So they are kind of like out on their own doing mercenary work, and they have another clone with them who's a little girl called Omega.
Oh.
So Boba is technically designated Alpha, and the girl from Bad Batch is Omega. She is a female Django clone. And so she's a big part of Bad Batch, which was why I was kind of curious during Book of Boba Fett. I was like, is Omega gonna show up? Because you got a sister that you may or may not know about. But Fennec shows up, I think, in the Bad Batch finale or right before the finale, and plays a huge role in it and gets into it with Cad Bane. So I was wondering, so that raised a lot of questions in Book of Boba Fett about that. But clearly the prominence of her, the placement of her, like how they really made sure that she got over, makes me think that they've got bigger plans for her down the road.
So you thinking a solo Fennec Shan series?
I'd watch the book of fine Fennec Shan.
Yeah.
I watch that show.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yep. Oh, good. Good. Get these folks out the way so I can spend some quality time with the lovely Ming Na. But it seems very much, and there's so much of her backstory we still don't know, except that she was an assassin. But they've gone out of their way to make sure that the audience understands without any ambiguity that this woman's a badass.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm like, they're doing. I think they looking. I think they're testing which way the wind blowing to see what they're gonna do with her.
And I love how efficient she is. Like, she's not like Flash. She like, I'm gonna just let you throw and keep walking because I don't have time for this. Like, yeah, okay,
She is
like,
she's an actual assassin.
Yeah, like it is all about quick to the point.
Quick to the point. It ain't gonna be flashy. I ain't got no catchphrases. I ain't got no that cool of an outfit or nothing. No, it's just gonna be like two guys talking. All of a sudden, you hear, and then bodies dropping.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm really looking forward to see where they go with her, because it seems like they've invested so much in making sure that the audience takes this character seriously.
Yeah.
But let's get to the part that's gonna make folks mad. These fans who don't understand how Jedi work. And Luke, I say we should be commending Luke Skywalker for giving Grogu the choice between the lightsaber and the Beskar
oh yeah.
Sure. Folks just want to be mad because video games got everyone thinking that if the rules shouldn't apply and the rules are bad. There ain't no multi-classing in Star Wars. You're not gonna be some Jedi bounty hunter. I don't care how much you want to min-max it. Like and then the whole thing about Luke did the absolute right thing. Let's remember. So folks are some folks online kind of mad, like, ooh, how dare he make Grogu choose between being a Jedi and his father. I say, well, number one, let's remember, they called Luke. Luke was minding his own. They called Luke up, so they hit Luke up on Skype or email or whatever. Luke
so we're referring to episode 6 where
yes, sorry.
Yeah, and our producer's like, yeah, so Grogu's not going to be a Jedi. they had to find a way to get back to the Mandalorian. I mean,
Exactly.
you know what? I fell for it. I was like, okay, well, I guess Grogu ain't gonna be on the show no more. So Mandalorian gonna do some different stuff. But it's like, yeah, this was a clever and natural way to bring him back. Man, I was thinking though, like Jedi's are basically like badass Catholic priests. like relationships, intimacy, none of that, buddy. Duty.
Well, and I think people look at it the whole right. They're like, oh, well, attachments, blah, blah. It's not about not having attachments. It's about the fear of losing them or the anger for when they're threatened. If anybody out there hearing this has a spouse or has a child, they know that your priorities and your way of seeing the world changes after that happens. It should. Now, you can't, if you're a Jedi, you are making a choice to devote your life to service for all, following the will of the living force, not doing what you want to do, and you can't do that if there's a person in this world who is the most important thing to you.
Well, yeah.
They did a much better job.
Mark Hamill.
They did a much better job with that deep face.
Oh, you liked it? Man,
I liked it much better than the one last season.
Okay. Because man, the CGI still kind of took me out at some point. I was just like, you look like binary code Luke or like video game Luke. I was like, it ain't quite natural. It's like
it's unnatural.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought it looked.
You looking like Adobe Flash look up in his mug.
I thought it looked better than the version they did at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian.
Okay.
I was like,
okay. So it's getting better.
But I would say that the thing is that what they don't understand is attachment. So everybody looks at attachment through the lens of Anakin. Yeah. And what they miss is, even if Anakin had been allowed to marry Padme, him not being able to be with Padme wasn't the issue. He had been with Padme for about a good 2 years at that point. The issue was when the Emperor messed with his head, got him thinking she was going to die. And everybody out here knows that even though the prequels were a very overly dramatic way of presenting that, if something was threatening your spouse or your child,
oh yeah, go time.
You gonna do whatever it is. And the problem is that people will kill for their spouse, they will lie for their spouse, they will look the other way for their spouse or their child, they will put them first before all things. And that's something that anybody can understand, right? Anybody who has a spouse or has a child can understand that. But the Jedi code and the Jedi lifestyle was never meant to be a lifestyle for normal people. It was meant to be, if you have the strongest commitment, that you are committing your life to serving the will of the living force and forgoing those things, because a person can't serve two masters. So here's what Luke does that got everybody mad. It just cracks me up. So Luke comes when they ask him to. He says, hey, y'all called me. I just saved y'all lives. Y'all call me what? Yeah, take this kid. He's like, all right. So he takes the kid. Now, later on, he sees that there's an issue with attachment. So not only at every point, Luke asks Grogu's consent for everything. He asks him, do you want me to help you unlock your memories? And then he offers him a fair, objective choice. The first time anyone in any of these shows has actually asked Grogu, what do you want to do? Because you can't do both. Now, folks mad like, well, you could have the armor and the... No, you can't. There ain't no multi-class. Like, I want to be a brain surgeon and a lawyer. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to focus on one of those.
You're going to have to focus on one of those. And when you have a spouse or a child, you have already made an oath. A person can't make two oaths.
And then my thing is this. Yeah, you see Luke out here romancing the honeys. Like Luke is, pretty much living that sparse life himself. It's just him in that black outfit and the cloak, and I'm just
I mean,
I'm
yeah, I mean,
Jedi, I'm
in the
fighting.
EU, they got rid of his wife in the, when they threw
Yeah.
out the old canon. So yeah, Luke monking it up. And before I get to the other thing about is, so Luke offers him a fair, objective choice. And not only that choice, but it's an informed choice, because he's like, you live longer. So what may be a short time to you will be a lifetime to someone else. So people talk about, yeah, you should grow up with Mando. He ain't growing up with Mando. Mando gonna be an old man and die before Grogu is an adult. He a 50-year-old toddler at this point. I
So
said,
what is the lifespan of his people? Because I still don't think they've named his people.
we don't know. We know Yoda was around 900 when he died.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. So I'm like, Luke, to me, did the responsible, honest, ethical thing. And then when he made his choice, respected it. Now, out of story, the reason's obvious. Freaking Grogu is a cash cow. Grogu is just printing money for
Yes.
them. They not gonna send him off with Luke knowing how that story ends. That
You're right.
Kylo go kill him. Nobody wants to see Baby Yoda get killed by Kylo Ren.
Man.
Nobody wants that.
And I mean, also there is precedence for that because, like, when I was like, casually keeping up with the Clone Wars, I was like, oh, Ahsoka, she's new and cool. So is Anakin going to offer? But then they were like, no, because we know how much you love her. It was
We gonna
like,
get
no.
her out the way.
Yeah, and of course Ahsoka is played by Rosario Dawson. I'm sorry, I had a little brain freeze. You know what I'm saying? The excellent, beautiful, amazingly talented Rosario Dawson, and I'm hearing that she has a series coming up.
And that's gonna be fire, my friend. That's gonna be fire. That's the one I'm waiting on, because you're gonna get, and what they've done with the world building by connecting all these characters. Look, y'all gonna see some Mando in her show too.
Yeah.
You gonna have to get used to seeing these other characters show up. Like, look at it like like Vince putting together book and wrestling. Okay, you had Boba, who was a draw, but then you came in with Mando and did such a good job with Mando that, we're gonna put him over here in a couple episodes of Boba, get the rub. Well, now it's like, who's giving the rub to who?
Yeah. If we can keep the wrestling terminology going, I've heard Bruce Pritchard say that they would put Hogan with top stars and they try to sprinkle that Hogan dust on him. Like, it's like, hey, let me put you at the top guy and see if you can kind of catch his buzz. Let me interject with a question though. Was there a point where you were like, okay, I get the series now or an episode, or were you pretty much invested from the beginning?
I was pretty invested from the beginning, because at this point we're watching these streaming shows. The good thing about these shows is, well, you really need to watch to the end, because they're all like usually one story. The bad part is, if you get to the end and it's not a good show, then it has no rewatch value. And that's been my problem with Star Trek Discovery. Like, I ain't rewatched none of that. Like, once I've got through with it, because. But I thought I thought on the whole they did a good job. I think this was a learning experience for them. I think they'll learn a lot about this, about doing a better job with editing. They'll learn about this, about doing a better job with picking directors who have consistent styles. I think they'll do a better job with budget across episodes. Like I said, through episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and at 5, you're like, oh, this is where the money is.
Yeah. I think it was 4 for me, because like 4, and they showed him with I guess taking Fennec Shan to the modders and all of that, and Then the way he was talking to finishing, I was like, oh, I get what the show was about now. I get what they're trying to show me. Like I said, I struggled through like 1 through 3, but like by 4, I was like, oh, okay. Like I said, it's kind of like Agent Bounty Hunter, kind of trying to plan the next step, realizing, hey, I can't just bounty hunt and jump from boss to boss and play the game of fools forever.
He's kind of Robert, what's his name? Robert Vaughn from Magnificent Seven. Like he's like, look, I don't been through a lot of stuff here. And then he has that moment with the Tuscans, that whole experience. I actually was into that. And I was into him assembling his crew. I think, like I said, they'll learn a lot about pacing and budget. The finale was too short.
Oh, you think so?
I think they should have extended that. They should have we should have gotten to see more of the supporting characters in his crew, giving them more time to shine. I think them resolving it this quickly doesn't made the Pikes seem like they weren't all that. And I know from Clone Wars, the Pikes are rough.
Okay.
The Pikes are rough. And so I was kind of like, it kind of made the Pikes seem like, I'm like, why don't the Pikes could just decimate y'all from orbit? Why are they even having guys run around here with guns? They only sent 2 droids. Like Pikes.
I think the whole thing was the Pikes were trying to get them out the way, and they wanted Spice to continue because the running of the Spice was very lucrative.
But I'm like, the Pikes are like the cartels. So I'm like, if I mess with the Colombian cartels, they're not just gonna send a bunch of dudes in guns and fight me how I want to fight. They've got military grade stuff. Where was the air support? Well, that was my problem with the finale, is that I felt like you probably needed that finale to be 2 episodes. Because I didn't take the Pike seriously, after that.
I guess I was just caught up in how they were going to get out of it. And just, it seemed like they didn't really have help because, the people of Freetown were a bit of an enigma because they just, Cad Bane just shot, what's his name, Cobb Vann, the marshal, and he just like, yeah, okay, look at you with your principles. Bang. Yo, mic's off, man.
I want to see that dude show too. If they could get him, if they could get Oliphant for a show.
Well, I guess then we should talk about that then too, because well, all right, first of all, it was a little weird to me when I started hearing that because like a lot of folks feel like episode 5 was basically an episode of The Mandalorian. So like, and I even saw a meme that had a wrestler throwing another wrestler, and the wrestler doing the throwing was Boba Fett episodes without Boba Fett, and the wrestler being thrown was Boba Fett. I was just like, people were really feeling, I guess, the Mando focus episodes more than Boba. I mean, do you feel like the Mandalorian kind of took over the series for a minute, or?
Well, I mean, I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Like, Mando is the new hotness. He is the new top dog. He is the guy with the belt. So they were like, we're gonna send him over. Like, it used to be the other way, but Mando took all the stuff from Boba that people wanted from a Boba show. And we've had 2 years of seeing Mando's had more on-screen development than
that's fair.
Most other Star Wars characters, period.
Yeah.
So from a stature, from a fan investment standpoint, Mando went from being not on the list to Mando's like top 5. For a lot of people, Mando's probably top 5. And as far as character advancement and character progression and getting to know this character, I think that was, and I think it was crucial that they used him, that they used Book of Boba Fett to launch his story, because as it looks like, Mando's done bounty hunting too, from the looks of things. His show ain't gonna be about that next year.
Oh, you don't think so?
Nah, like he got a starfighter. Where he gonna even put people?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
As soon as they took that droid port out, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's for Baby Yoda. I knew what that was about. But he has a starfighter. I think the rest of Mandalorian is about to get very deep into the lore of the Darksaber, the lore of the Mandalorians. Because here's what a lot of casual fans are missing. Everybody going around talking about this is the way, and yeah, I identify with the Mandalorians and stuff. They're missing the point. Mando is like Worf from Star Trek, in that Worf ain't like other Klingons. Worf is somebody who's obsessed with the culture and obsessed with and has picked out the good things from it.
Again, reference my good buddy Richard Douglas Jones. On our podcast, I think he said that Mando is like Church of God and Christ, and like the other ones we saw, like Seventh Day Adventists.
Well, see, but that's what people don't understand is like every criticism that people make about the Jedi is triple fold for the children of the Watch. And people forget when he meets Bo-Katan back in season 2, and he said when they take off their helmets and he kind of freaks out, and the other guy's like, oh, he's one of them. The children of the Watch, what it looks like, are descendant from Death Watch, who were a bad guy group back in Clone Wars.
Okay.
Every person that we have seen, every faction that we've seen is from Clan Vizsla. And so the guy Mando fought is the descendant of the guy who had the Darksaber in Clone Wars. That guy loses the saber to Maul, and so on and so on and so on. But the Mandalorians are basically thugs who have this romantic notions and senses of honor. But what people forget is that if you go back into the crazy, like book, deep lore Star Wars, the Mandalorians are consistently pawns and proxies of the Sith, because they're all about conquest and war. And sure, they've got codes of honor and stuff, but at the end of the day, you a cult of crazy gun nut doomsday prepper survivalist. Like, Mando knows next to nothing about the actual culture of Mandalorians. He knows next to nothing about other Mandalorians. He didn't even know that the Jedi existed. Yeah. Not that they were a legend or a myth, like everybody seems to forget in 30 years about these people, but that he was that shows his isolation based on his upbringing from the cult. So like Worf, he's from this thuggish culture who took these principles out of it and made them his own. But people are going to realize he ain't like them. And so the Mandalorian way, people like it because when you present someone as loyal or as devoted, well, it's easy to see that in a positive light.
Yeah. And I noticed too, it's like they're kind of making him regret the times that he took his mask off. Because the woman asked him directly and he hesitated, and he was like, yes, I have removed my helmet.
And I believe that is I believe that's Rook Cast. I believe the armorer is Rook Cast, who was a member of Death Watch and then later a member of Maul's Super Commandos during Clone Wars. I think we're going to find out more about who she is, and that the Children of Watch aren't the good guys. That's the shoe that's going to drop. They are not the good guys. The group they came from aren't the good guys. And most other Mandalorians view them how we would view, like, doomsday prepper people, like militia people. They're militia people. They're the people out in their compound. I mean, there's a reason why this guy doesn't know anything about other people, or that other types of Mandalorians exist.
Wow.
I mean, he didn't know who Bo-Katan was, and she ruled Mandalore.
Excellent point. And then also, Bo-Katan's sidekick was played by Mercedes Varnado, aka WWE superstar Sasha Banks, who I love. Like, man, I'm really hoping she pops up in Mandalorian season 3. Well, both of them, Bo-Katan and what's her character name again?
What was that? Which one?
Bo-Katan sidekick. What's her character name?
Oh, I forget her name. I forget her name, but I mean, they might as well do something with Sasha Banks because WWE ain't.
What you said.
They might as well.
But yeah, man, and you have made a strong case for me watching the Clone Wars and Bad Batch because I'm seeing that there's some dots I need to connect.
There is so much of this show. More of this show comes from Clone Wars than from the original trilogy. Like these 3 seasons of Mandalorian and Boba Fett, I mean, from Cad Bane to Fennec to the Darksaber. And the Darksaber, look, we don't play enough D&D to know when you got an intelligent weapon that's been held by a bunch of warlords that you can only take from killing somebody, maybe that ain't a good guy weapon.
Yeah, that's like the ring in Lord of the Rings or something. It's like that's going to corrupt you.
Look, I know from Greyhawk, as soon as I get an intelligent weapon, I'm like, oh, how can I get rid of this? Like, and so that's why it's resisting him. If you notice that when they talked all this stuff about the Darksaber resisting him, that's because the only people we've seen wield the Darksaber effectively are people who are either been motivated from evil or ambition.
Like Moff Gideon in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Like Pre Vizsla, like Darth Maul, like Moff Gideon, like even Bo-Katan to a degree.
Also shout out because Moff Gideon is played by the brilliant Giancarlo Esposito, who I met at an Indie Memphis Film Festival several years ago, and he was super nice.
Wow, no, that guy can do anything.
Oh man, dude! Like
going back to Homicide, that guy can do anything.
Yeah, I know, man. I feel like this streaming, like all these little streaming channels, and everybody needing content is just getting him more checks, and I'm all for it.
I'm all for it too. And I liked how he was like scared. He was shook when Luke came in, and people going, "Why? I'm like, you got to look at. We view Luke because we have perfect knowledge of everything that happened. But if you somebody in this world, you got Darth in that world, you got the Emperor and Darth Vader. So everybody's scared of them. Darth Vader going around choking folks left and right, killing planets, slaughtering populations. And all they know is this dude showed up and him and Vader go in and see the Emperor. Next thing we know, everything's all going to hell. Emperor's dead. And this dude's carrying Vader out to the thing. So it's kind of like,
and like there's no internet or World Wide Web, so it's all like second, third, fourth, fifth hand information.
Yeah.
And then the story is probably getting muddled because it's like playing telephone.
Well, and then think of it this way. So all the average Imperials know about Luke is this kid came out of nowhere, blew up the Death Star. Luke Skywalker, well, there was an Anakin Skywalker who was a big Jedi hero. Oh, that's his son? All right. Okay, he's responsible then, partially responsible for the destruction of the second Death Star, murders the Emperor and Vader, walks out without a scratch on him. This dude, like, people would be, it's like you killed Jesse James, now you Jesse James. And so
or like how criminals, I think, are when they see Batman and Gotham City, it's like, oh crap, he's real. Oh crap, how much of what I heard is real? Oh crap, how bad is he going to hurt me?
Yeah, that's why he was like, look, I'm just gonna end it right. I'm gonna end it right now. He said it because this dude killed Vader, and we were all terrified of Vader. Like, so Luke's rep would be as powerful as Luke is, his rep would be like up here. And I liked how they played how Giancarlo sold it during that scene. He's like, oh dang, they sent him.
Yeah, he was like, game over. But and of course, man, we got to talk about, I guess, the post-credit scene of episode 7, man, because you know, at first when Fennec and Boba were talking, he was like, Well, the back to tank is being used right now. I thought it was Mando or somebody else. But then we saw Mando in space. I was like, so who? So then we see the back to tank. Is that Cobb Melt?
Yeah, that was Cobb.
Okay. And then we see the Martyr. So he's gonna get a back to tank and he's gonna get borged up. So
He's gonna yeah, see, I'm saying just in time for the Book of Hot Phoenix Shan them to show up. Because that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna use it looks like they're gonna use these shows as springboards for other shows. So unless you Mando, you don't have a show of your own. Unless you somebody who's been in movie, unless you Obi-Wan or unless you Ahsoka, not even really Ahsoka, unless you Obi-Wan or somebody like that, you don't get your own show. You're going to have a show where you get most of it. And then here comes some people for other shows that we're going to be pushing up next. And here's how we set up Mandalorian. Because that's what's bringing in the money and the subscribers.
Well, okay. So now I'm trying to get my timelines right. So I know Obi-Wan is next, right? In terms of Star Wars shows. Now, is that between episode 3 and 4?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they'll be way before all this stuff that we've been watching. And then Andor comes out this year too, which that's the show I'm kind of like, why are y'all making this? The Cassian Andor, the guy from Rogue One.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so
this
show
is before Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
so it'll be like Obi-Wan and then Andor timeline wise, which leads into Rogue One. And then we get season 3 of Mandalorian at the end of the year, which will bring us back. I don't know why they're making Andor. I don't get. So I will watch it with an open mind, but I'm kind of like, who asked for this? Like, he dies.
I didn't know what they were going to do after, the last movie and Solo and the poor reception. Man, I mean, yes, this TV universe is good, but, it's a business. I feel like they gotta go back to the movies at some point. Like, what directions do you think they'll probably go in with the movies?
The problem with the movies is when you make a trilogy that's just a beat by beat variation of the original trilogy, you can't do nothing after that, because what are you going to do Mandalorian again? I mean, it's the same story, rebuilding the Republic, rebuilding the Jedi Order. There's no story to tell after episode 9. What I'd like to see them do is for them to they won't do this. But what I'd like to see them do is say, okay, we're done in this part of the galaxy. Episode 9 is the end of our timeline. We'll do stuff before that, but we're not going past that, because there's really no story to tell that they aren't already telling with Mandalorian and with Ahsoka and with these other shows. It's the same story. So what they should do with movies, I think, is go to the unexplored, unknown regions.
Okay.
There's a quarter to a third of the Star Wars galaxy that we know very little about because it's hard to get to. It's hard to get to and hard to get from. We know stuff Thrawn's from there.
Yeah, because like I noticed in comics, they've been doing this comic now called Halcyon, and it involves kind of more of a Star Trek type of kind of a Star Trek and Star Wars thing, because it's like a big old starship, right? So I'm like, and that fascinates me because I haven't seen that in Star Wars. So I was like, oh, maybe they could go there.
And that's like in the past High Republic timeline, right? Like way before Clone Wars and the prequels and all that, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's during the high. See, I think that if they're going to do movies, I think there's unless you're just going to do a big, massive time jump in the future, which they ain't going to do, because you don't get to use any of your pre-existing characters. I think they should go to the uncharted regions and say, all right, this is a whole different setting in the same galaxy. What went on over there don't affect over here because they're cut off. Here's how stuff works over here. And if you want to do different types of Jedi, different types of, there are other Force traditions other than the Jedi or Sith. We just don't see them in the shows or movies much.
Have
And
they talked about those like in other works or?
in Clone Wars, you see the Night Sisters, who are one of them, which is like this all-female dark side order, and you see remnants of
That's
it. But
where Asajj Ventress comes from, right?
yeah, that's where Ventress comes from.
Okay.
Even though she was like Sith trained. But yeah, so you have these other Force factions. Maybe do something with that in the unknown regions. That'll give you a chance to do something different. And you can kind of start fresh and you're free from existing continuity, because I don't trust them. I don't trust them to do the continuity of the movies right, the continuity right in the movies. So in that case, just wipe the board clear, go to uncharted regions, do some stuff there. You can still reference the chiss and some of the things from the uncharted regions you've already referenced. But you kind of got a level playing field. That's what I would like to see.
Okay. Well, and also I guess where do you see them going with the Book of Boba Fett season 2?
I think season 2 they'll learn. I actually think this season I'm a lot more forgiving of the mistakes of this season because I see it as a learning curve with pacing, a learning curve with picking the right directors. Because who was that directed the lady who directed? I think she directed episode 5, chapter 5. Yeah. I'm like, get her back, and Robert Rodriguez, let him do something else.
Oh, you don't think this was Rodriguez's forte?
This was not his best work. And he's a good director, but this was not his best. But whoever her name was, her name escapes me, who did episode 5, get her back.
I'm happy to see the way Jon Favreau just is steering these series as a whole, because, you know, a lot of the loyalists were a bit bummed out, I guess, after this latest trilogy. I mean, I didn't hate it.
It was garbage.
I didn't love everything, huh?
You can't make up a trilogy as you go along. And I think it was an expensive lesson for them to learn. But when you make it up as you go, like after I saw Last Jedi, and somebody asked me about episode 9, I said episode 9 is going to be terrible, but it can't be good. There's no way for episode 9 to be good. And they said, why? I said, because you got 2.5 hours to somehow take this trilogy that has 2 part 1s and no part 2. You've got to resolve that, and you've got to somehow tie, since you promised y'all would, it's not necessary. Y'all got to tie all 9 together somehow in a way that's satisfying. And then you're going to put J.J. Abrams in charge of it, the guy who can't land a plane?
Well, yeah.
I was like, it's doomed from the start. Like, even if they did the best script in the world, like, you can't resolve all that in 2.5 hours.
That is fair. Abrams, like, I know Alias and Lost both kind of just like fizzled out, especially Lost. Everybody was just like, what now? What was that last season? Yeah.
He can start it, but he can't. He has proven that he cannot finish it, and especially when he's playing with somebody else's toys. Look what he did to Star Trek.
I don't know. Maybe I'm too kind of a nerd. Like, I don't hate the Star Treks. I mean, I think they're fine.
They're visually beautiful. Abrams' Trek is visually, from an art direction, the casting director, whoever that was, the casting is spot on, because it's hard to play a character somebody else is famous for as an actor, because you get stuck fighting not doing an impression. And they did a great job with it. There's a lot of great things that happen in those movies, but I'm like, you rebooted this series just to tell the same stories over again. Who was asking for this? There wasn't no kids out in the streets. There weren't no young people talking about, we want Kirk and Spock back. Star Trek is always about moving forward. They should have just kept moving forward, but what's done is done. But I think the problem and so you have this problem now where Star Wars for a while was trying to be the MCU. Star Trek was trying to be Star Wars. And now it seems like both are starting to settle into, now here's what we are and here's what we're good at and here's what makes us unique. Oh, and both were trying to be The Expanse, which was
Oh, so that's that's the Amazon space series, and I've been told that like the science on there is airtight. It's very exact, and
it's
yeah,
The Expanse is one of those shows that like it was big now and successful, I guess. But 10 years from now, it's going to be like how Babylon 5 became more beloved after the fact. The Expanse is excellent.
okay. And also, I did some research here. I believe the woman who directed episode 5 is Steph Green.
Oh, okay. Well, whoever it was,
Yeah.
whoever did that, bring them back.
Or well, let's see. Because there are two woman directors,
both
Steph
of them.
Green or Bryce Dallas Howard.
No, Bryce Dallas, that's the one.
Oh,
Bring
okay.
her back.
Oh
Bring
yeah.
her.
Oh, that's Ron Howard's daughter. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She got directed in her genes.
She got it in her genes, and she a better director than an old man too. So
whoa, hot take. Yo, man,
no disrespect to Ron.
Why you trying to eat the Opie, bro? You can't eat the Opie.
Ron's a good director. He's a competent director, but he's very workmanlike. You know, he's like, oh, y'all need me to do this? Can do. Y'all need me to do that? Can do. He's a good director. He's a working director, but I don't think he would have done a good job with this material as she did. I was like, okay, this is Star Wars. Who are you? All right, let's get you back.
Okay,
that's just me though.
Man, it's hard for me to be impartial, man. It's like my childhood, man. It's like Opie and freaking like the music man that we had to list Gary and Vienna. That's my dude, man. You came from Ron Howard, man.
I'm just saying, man.
I was like, not Richard Cunningham.
That was long. Cocoon was a long time ago. I'm just saying, Willow been a minute.
I think there's a Willow series in development.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
They should just say Willow takes place in the Star Wars universe. That's what I want to see. I want to see Willow hanging out with the other little hobbits and them chilling, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of stormtroopers show up and start blasting stuff. Like, oh dang! Then you can have magic versus science fiction, because Star Wars is basically science fantasy.
Yeah.
But I really think they're going to push on Finnick. I think season 2 of Book of Boba Fett will be more of what people thought they were going to get. It's going to be a little bit more Godfather.
Okay.
He'll probably get a bit more action. I mean, that dude's 60 years old. I mean, come on, y'all. You ain't going to be, doing all this stuff. That's why you got Finnick. And then I think they're going to, rating, huh? What do you say? I say, you said, what is it? It's Auteur, Midland, and
Hack.
I want to say Midland plus.
So you're going to give Book of Boba Fett Midland plus?
Yeah, Midland plus.
Well,
what do you got for it?
I'm going to have to be the sunny side of life guy here. It took me a minute. It took me a long minute to really wrap my head around it. But like 4 through 7 went so hard, man, and like I finally got it. I'm finna jump out the window, man. I'm gonna give it all to her.
No, you know what? I support that. And I support that and commend that, because I think part of the problem now is, like I said, since Avengers Endgame, the world has been the toilet. And I think we rely now on our entertainment more than we have in the past. And Endgame was such a moment for fans, for nerds all over, right? That now everything's got to be that or it's trash. And I think not everything has to be this in order to be good.
Yeah, see, that's why I think that's what I mean when I say fine a lot. I be like, because I know people who hated like Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man film. No, like they were fine. They weren't the greatest.
They had good things about them. I'll say his acting, because I rewatched all of them before I went to see No Way Home. A real quick No Way Home tangent. And I was like, I've misjudged these movies. Like these are visually the web swinging. He's probably the best at it. Like
Yeah.
the scenes of that, or the scene with him and Aunt May where she gives the "You're my boy" speech. That was real. There's real
Yeah.
emotion there. And
Yeah, I mean, man, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, like everybody's rating is it's either earth shaking or trash, and it's like, yo, man, stuff can be okay, stuff can be good, stuff can be fine.
not everything and that's why I hate GOAT arguments. Everything's the GOAT now. Everything's
Oh
the
well,
GOAT. Everything that comes out now is the GOAT. And I'm
oh well,
saying,
you probably. Well, I am guilty of like, because when I do my rundown or like the cast on my show, I will throw out GOAT, man. But I reserve for like Denzel Washington and like Meryl Streep.
but it just
You
gets thrown around. That term just gets thrown around so much now. And I'm like, you can't really have a GOAT, in my opinion. Like, you can say what was the GOAT of its era, of its time, of its this. Because, I mean, you can't even compare TV shows today to TV shows just 10 years ago. Budget, production value, their movie. These shows like Mandalorian and Boba Fett and WandaVision and all that, those are movies. Those are long movies broken up into parts.
That's why I think like there was no stink when SAG and AFTRA became one union, because they were like, we're pretty much on the same levels now, movie and TV, and because I'm 45, I remember the era when the hot TV stars would jump to movies and try not to come back. You remember that time?
Yeah.
And now it's just like,
or if you were a movie actor doing a TV show, when Candace Bergen did Murphy Brown, it was all like, she doing a TV show? I remember reading articles like, oh, wow. But now, no, TV's where it's at.
Also, what blows my mind is like the hottest stars on earth, like Rock and Kevin Hart, can host game shows, and like nobody clowns them. Like all the rules are gone, man. It's just like, hey, I can do this, and people will pay me, and we win. But well, I guess it's about time for us to bring this ship into the shore. Mr. Watkins, sir, you have exceeded my expectations. Again, I live for your nerdy takes on Facebook, and
I live for yours, brother. And when y'all gonna do a Black Nerd Power podcast again?
Well, that's a live show now that takes place normally once a month. We are skipping February, but we will be back March 6th. Now, you're welcome to come out. It will be at Black Lodge Video.
I love the guys at Black Lodge, and I love you guys, your guys' shows.
March 6th, Sunday, March 6th. Go come out, check us out, man. And well, shoot, I guess since we on it, let me go and throw out a few more plugs. I also look for me in the animated feature, Orange Mound Bound. That's a little project I'm working on. And of course, please come back here, guys. Most Sundays at 6, I give you like about a 6 to 8 minute film review. You see the ratings, auteur, middling, hack. Come back, man. And sir, Mr. Watkins, do you have anything to plug?
No, sir. No, nothing to plug.
I'm gonna go throw it out to the world. Mr. Watkins and I have an ongoing friendly debate where I'm trying to get him to make a YouTube channel. He feels like he doesn't have enough to say that will be different. I feel like this episode was my slick way of luring him into doing something, and my exhibit A that he would have something to say. So we're going to keep throwing out positive energy and make a little like spirit bomb a la Dragon Ball Z and hope it melts his heart.
If we could form a network with Blur Without Fear and then like cross promote. But Ernie say most of what I say. Like,
man, I think it's different because you're you and you have your insight. And just let the record show. Saying when you came on here, I would love if you get a venture, You know I love to pop on there. But all right, like I said, guess we just said pretty much what needed to be said. Like I said, guys, come back. Most Sundays at 6. There's going to be a 6 to 8 minute film review. Cinesundry. Look out for these again, when a series wraps, or maybe there's a movie that just, begs for further discussion. So for Brad Watkins, I am Markus Seaberry. Thank you all for watching. And remember, guys, take some time and treat yourself to a movie. And we'll see you next time.